I'm Shane Piggott. Tonight I'm going to do an informative speech on the 3 great seasons for bass fishing. One of the questions I get asked all the time when I'm out on the tour or doing shows throughout the country is, what do I do to find fish year round? How do I locate them? What do I do? Well, tonight I'm going to break it down for you. 3 seasons. You have the spring, you have the summer, and you have the fall. Okay? One key element to all 3 is a transition area. I'll explain to you what a transition area is. A transition area is where the creek channel, the main creek channel, bends into a point, a bluff wall, or a flat point when it's in a major exchange in water depth. Okay? Guys, I've done extensive research on seasonal patterns of bass from one continent to the other, and these are my Bibles, okay? Bassmaster Magazine. In this magazine right here, there's several articles about what I'm talking about tonight, and also Bass and Times. Now the difference between the 2 magazines is Bass and Times is more for your weekend novice angler. The articles and the pictorials and everything are broken down a little bit more basic. The Bassmaster Magazine is written by elite pro anglers explaining what they do every day. Sometimes it gets a little complex and hard to understand if you're not in the business. So these 2 magazines right here are the ones that I use the most for all my articles. Bass and Times, Bassmaster Magazine, okay? Now, let's break this down. Let's go to spring, okay? Spring. Spring's when you catch a big bass, okay? It's a transitional time of year when they're coming out of their winter patterns up to their spring patterns where they're going to start spawning and stuff. Let me show you some key baits. Okay, key baits for in the spring, these little creature baits like this, okay? We got this called a chigger crawl, okay? We also have a standard jig. This thing looks like a crayfish. Actually, you can put the 2 together just like that and make a jig and chunk, okay? Then we have a bladed jig, okay? This is a bladed jig. It oscillates back and forth. You'll notice that the blade hits the head making a clicking noise as it comes through the water, okay? These are 3 starter baits for the spring. Later in the spring, when the fish start spawning, they're up on the bank doing their thing, having a good time, I switched to 2 different baits. I switched to these 2. Okay, notice that this one is a crankbait and it has a rattle in it, okay? This is a topwater bait and it has a blade on the back. This emulates a shad or a bluegill on the top, and this emulates a shad or a bluegill on the bottom. Okay, you'll notice it's got a square bill because you throw them around structure. They deflect off the structure really well. Okay, that's spring. Okay, and you'll notice that I picked a bright color with a black back because of the spring rains. A lot of elements come into play when you're seasonally patterned fish. One of them is water temperature, and the other is air temperature, and in the spring is the moon phase. A lot of people forget that. That's key. Moon phase is key. Okay. But know that your lake's going to be a little bit more dingier. So in your jig patterns like these, you want to go with your darker colors like I've chosen here. Okay, this is particular one's called Grasshopper. This is a Green Party. This is just a standard black and blue. Okay. Now, you're fishing shallow, you're fishing transition areas, you're fishing around cover. Let's move to the summer. Summer's wide open, but you still have that key element. You have that key element of the river channel, okay? In the summertime, I changed it up a little bit. I throw a swim bait, like this one. It's got a paddle tail on the back of it, rig it on a jig head, you slow roll it, you crash it into stuff. Okay, I also throw the same square bill, but notice the color pattern change. Okay, now I'm keying in on shad. Okay, that is a shad pattern one. That's a square bill. Here's a rattle. They'll come from a long ways to hit this bait. The other, now we're introducing a larger topwater bait. This particular bait is called a Vixen. You notice it's got 3 hooks on it. It's 5 inches long. You walk it on top of the water and listen to the big old rattle. Okay, big rattle. Okay, now we're gonna go into the fall. Into the fall, I throw two baits. I throw the spoon right here. This is a 3/4 ounce, and I'll throw a 1 ounce flutter spoon, and I'll throw this big bait. Okay, in the fall, they're feeding up for winter, trying to get their fat on, so I use big baits. 3/4 and 1 ounce flutter spoons, and a big topwater bait. So let's conclude this. When you're preparing yourself to go fish, remember the baits that I've shown you: small for spring, large for fall, shad patterns for summer, and creek channels. Watch the creek channels. Any element that meets a creek channel will hold bass. Until next time, thank you and good fishing.